Bullying, shaming, human trafficking, fraud, safety, and privacy matters affects all of us, no matter who we are. We've been sharing stories about scamming and abuse experienced by women and men, those who have fallen victim in particular to online scamming that involve fraud and identity theft. Today is slightly different. We'll be talking to psychologist Lydia Zagorova, and I hope I'm getting her name right. So don't go away. We'll be right back. And welcome back to episode 9 of the conversation Online Safety. Welcome again. This is episode 9 of the conversation about online safety. I'm your host, Bridgetti, Banda, and today we're talking to psychologist Lydia Zagorova. Lydia is Bulgarian and she lives in a place called Sofia. She speaks Bulgarian, English, and Russian. She's qualified in psychology and sociology and has served as a chief expert for the Juvenile Delinquency Council of Ministers. Her expertise is in prevention and protection related to all forms of child sexual exploitation and the reintegration of these girls. However, Lydia also has a keen interest in the awareness of problems related to romance scamming. She does surveys and provides online therapy to small groups of women who are victims of romance scamming. She's also a proud supporter of the online Don't Look Away campaign. Lydia has written many publications related to child sexual abuse and also authored a documentary book called Flowers of the Night. It documents her meetings with prostitutes. The book is a bestseller and is based on her own surveys, experiences, and contains real stories of girls and women who were victims of trafficking and forced prostitution. Her latest book is called My Queen and My King. It documents the adventures of a romance scammer. It's also based on her own surveys, experiences, and stories of women who were victims of love scamming. Since 2000, Lydia has participated in TV shows and talked about the problems of romance scamming, sharing the specifics of the phenomena, methods, emotional manipulation, and methods of recovery for women who are victims of scams. So, Lydia, a warm welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Bridgetti, for the excellent introduction. I only would like to add something very important that since 2000, I'm a member of ECPAT International. This is a worldwide organization working for prevention and fighting against all forms of sexual exploitation, child trafficking for sexual purposes, child prostitution, child sex tourism, child pornography on the internet, and all my professional life and all my international experience is related to this organization because as a member of ECPAT International, I'm also chairperson of the national branch for ECPAT Bulgaria. We are NGO called Neglected Children Society, and we act as Bulgaria branch of ECPAT Bulgaria called ECPAT Bulgaria. So it's important for me, really.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that. So we're talking about specifically online scamming and love scamming or romance scamming, because that's been a conversation that's been ongoing on this particular show. So I would like to get into a little bit of the specifics, but before I do, I want to say welcome to our audience on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Periscope, and on Twitter. Welcome, everyone. If you have any questions that relates to online fraud, scamming, identity theft, and the effects, please pop those questions in the comments, and we will ask them. We'll ask Lydia if she can answer them for us. So please, participate and pop your questions in the comments for her. So, Lydia, I'd like to start off by asking you, why is it so difficult? Because in every instance, almost everyone I've spoken to, they could not see that they were being scammed. Why is it that we lack the skills to identify when we are caught in a scam?
Yes, Bridgetti. First of all, I would like to thank you for your invitation here, because I respect and like very much your platform, and I think that this is one of the right ways to give prevention and to hear the voices of the victims. Why it's so difficult to understand that you're a victim? Firstly, maybe because the scammers are very good. Some of them are professionals, and they know how to manipulate the victim, how to manipulate the emotional world of the victim, of the women. And I think that this emotional manipulation is in the basement of all romance frauds, and that's why for the woman is so hard to understand that she is just victim, not a woman, because they obsessed the woman. They use a lot of methods like poems and music and nice words. This is everything maybe which every human being needs, and everything which the only woman need, because you know that mostly the target group is focused on women between 15 and 60, widowed or divorced. And I think that we must do prevention in all ways, because not all women know about the existence of this phenomena, and that's why they are not aware of that, and really they believe that they find the prince of their wife, and they will spend the rest of their life with this man. At the same time, doesn't know, knowing that this is maybe a person from Africa, a scammer, a person who wants to take only their money, not to share the life and the feelings between them. And thanks of the international and American platforms and organizations who share this knowledge, thanks to the number of videos which I saw on YouTube, I understood what these people do with me. Because when I was involved in this scam, I started to search a lot of sources, and I had a lot of information, and I was aware of what's happened. And if we don't give this knowledge to the auditorium, to the people, men and women over the world, nobody will know what happens. When you are prepared, you will know if somebody come into your internet space and ask for friendship and declare that you are the big love in his life. You will receive then the red flags, and you will know that something is wrong. So in my case, when I received firstly in Facebook, after that in Messenger, after that in Skype and WhatsApp, these contacts, the first moment I was happy. Oh, so nice and handsome man wants to contact me. But actually it was a stone picture, and it was not the real man, of course. And in my case, it was The stolen personality, stolen ID of Dr. Fernando Gomez. He's maybe, one of the most stolen people and ID in internet. He's a real, very successful, very popular, very charming neurosurgeon, neuroscientist in Sao Paulo. And most of the scammers took his picture because of the influence who he has on the auditorium, on the women auditorium.
And I'd like to pause there because that's one of the important things that people need to know about scammers.
Mm-hmm.
They always use stolen pictures. So there's a very strong link with identity theft. They're never going to use their real pictures, and they're going to use stolen pictures, usually of military men, medical personnel, famous people. If you're famous for any reason, your pictures are likely to be stolen and used on the internet. And I think for me, the travesty is that very often people are not even aware of the fact that their pictures are being used by scammers on the internet. And the difficulty is that the person being scammed, the victim, has now fallen in love with a picture that doesn't exist, with a person that doesn't exist. In fact, there's not just the person behind that stolen identity picture, there's a group, a whole massive group of people, a network of people that's behind that single stolen image that you have grown attached to.
Yes, it's true. It's true. It's very sad that, in fact, the women victims of romance scamming, they fell in love in the picture. And it's very hard to believe that it can happen, but it happened. And but the other bad thing is that some of the women, when they understood that they are victims of romance scam and that the picture is stolen, they try to establish contact with the real person. And this is not good. But in my case, it was very interesting because when I put a picture and I understood that the fake profile is not of the doctor who work for UN mission in Yemen, but this is a real doctor working in Brazil. And then I come and became a fan of his professional page. And then I saw how many women write that they are victims of Dr. Fernando, and the other part of the women advise the women who are victims of a scam that Dr. Fernando is a real person, he is not a bad person. But interesting, part of these women, they still believe that Dr. Fernando wants money to treat the health of the children and something else. And when I understood that, it was very easy for me to manage myself and my emotions and my behavior, because you're right. The scammers are part of organized group, but sometimes not only one person, some persons work on you, and it's very disgusting because the women think that only one man fell in love with her. But it's not true. In my case, later I understood that 3 persons from Nigeria work as my kings, as my lovers. And after that, one of them continued to communicate with me because I block connection in Skype and Messenger, and he continued with WhatsApp declaring that he is really fall in love with me. He wants to save me and protect me from the other scammers, and to establish friendship and future marriage. Anyway, it continued very long, but I had the happiness, or not happiness, maybe it was the chance to establish good relations and to gain the trust of this person. and to understand and ask you, and he was so polite to answer me and to inform me about the other side of the scamming. Because that in Africa, in many countries, people lives in poverty, and sometimes they go to practice scamming because maybe for some of them this is the only way for gaining money. Maybe you know better if this is true or not. But this person is a good singer. He is a young man, and he has some clips, video clips, and he wants to continue to find finally producer to become a great singer. And that's why he said that he scam at the moment because he hasn't other opportunity to gain money for development of his talent, and plus that to ensure money for his family because he has two small babies. This is other side of the things. I cannot forgive these people, but anyway, maybe the things have not only criminal side, they have social side, psychological side, social psychological side. And that's why this phenomena is so unmanageable and so difficult and so dangerous.
Yeah, very, very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
What are one of the first things that you think people should look out for to identify
Mhm.
whether or not they are caught up in a scam? Because it's very difficult for them to see. What are
Yeah.
some of the things that they need to look out for?
I think that firstly, they can observe the profile. In a very easy way, they can understood looking at the pictures if this story is real or fake. They can follow the presentation of the person. After that, they can check to take the picture and to check in internet, in Google, or through TNI if this person exists. And in this way, very easy, they will find who is the real subject who stay behind the fake profile. Plus that, that all these sweet names, all this direct contact, all this coming into the intimate world of the woman since the first steps in internet, this is not normal for the real life. This is also a red flag if they start to call you, oh baby, oh my queen, oh my wife, oh my sweetheart, we will be together forever, and something like that. Yes, it's a pleasure for the women to hear this, but it's very suspicious also. Plus
And
that,
I noticed,
yeah, yeah,
I noticed that
yeah, yeah,
in all the love scams or romance scams, the victims do what they call love bombing, and they very quickly
yeah,
start referring to the person as my husband or my
yeah,
wife.
yeah,
So they'll talk to you as, and that is one of the first telltale signs, because
yeah,
in a normal love relationship, you
yes.
don't refer to the person that you're in a relationship with as your husband or your wife until you are actually married. So when a person does that, it's abnormal. It's a sign that something is wrong.
Yes. Yes, this bombing with feelings is very suspicious, but it's very well accepted, as a woman that all women dream about that. And I was a queen. I was a queen. Oh, my miracle. Oh, my unique queen. You are so nice. You are so sweet, etc., etc. They involve you in such imagination world, a world of hopes, of love. Also, they provoke the emotional world of the women. They provoke the sensitivity, the sexual desires of women. They manipulate the woman on all levels. And that's why it's very difficult to believe that this is not true. Just the women don't want to believe in that. And when the scammer gain their trust, very easy. They start to go to the next step, to ask for money, to ask for help. Since the beginning was much money or less money. You know that they use these excuses, like in my case, when the person is, for example, doctor in a UN mission, that doctor wants to leave the mission, that this is not allowed, that the bank accounts are blocked, that you can declare that you are his future wife, and to send a letter to specific email. And after that, they send a confirmation, sometimes official letters from US Army, that yes, your money will be spent in such way, and they list the calculations even. And the last moment that you must send money. In my case, firstly, they wanted $100,000.
Wow.
Yes, here I was amazed when I started to follow the stories of the different women. I couldn't understand. Yes, I know you love somebody, but can you be so naive? Can you be so trustful to send so much money? Because you know that in most of the cases, the women send thousand, still 1 million. They sell their houses, they borrow money. It's amazing. And that's why I was provoked. And I took this challenge to put myself as a kind of a victim of undercover, because I wanted to understand what exactly the scammers do with the women, that they can motivate them to lose their mind and to send so big sums. Because,
Mm.
for example, in Bulgaria, the cases which I observe, Bulgarian women, they don't have after retirement or when they're divorced, they don't have so much money like, for example, American women or Australian women. And they cannot give so much money, but try to borrow. And for example, to send 1,000 or $500, and this is bad, because this is the only money of the woman. But for me, it was a challenge to understand uh, what are the emotional mechanisms of involvement in love. What exactly are these skills of the scammers that they can force you to fall in love, to lose your mind, and to do such stupid things, to isolate you from the world, and to put
I,
you
I,
under
I want to
dependence.
interrupt you there.
Yes,
That's another important thing that happens is that they very cleverly isolate you from your friends,
yeah,
they isolate you from your family, from anybody. They keep you so occupied that they worm their way into your emotions so that the scammer actually
yeah,
becomes your emotional crutch in life.
yeah,
And people aren't able to identify that, because every single person I've spoken to, once they've come out of it and they've already been scammed, it's like this veil lifts from their eyes, and they say, how could I be so stupid? How could I not see this while it was
yeah,
happening to me? And the sad thing is that it happens to educated people. It happens to business
yeah,
people,
yeah,
to doctors, it happens to lawyers. No one is exempt, so it's not just the average housewife that this happens to. It can happen to anyone, and that is
mhm,
why this education is so important, to let people know that they need to be, if you're active on the internet in any
yeah,
shape or form, you need to understand that being on the internet is an open door. And what these scammers effectively do is that they will send hundreds. They do. I think they call it catfishing. They send out hundreds of friend requests, like
yes,
hundreds every single day, hundreds of friends requests. They send those out because on Facebook, which is the largest social platform, There's no limit to the amount of friend requests you can send. You can send an endless amount of friend requests. And
Yes.
so they have almost got this process down to a pat. You know, it's so easy on Facebook to create a fake profile. It couldn't be easier if you tried. It is so, so easy. So it's as if it's an open door for
Yes.
identity theft. It's an open door for scamming that Facebook at this point of time is permitting. They've got this open door for scammers, and people need to be aware of that if you're active on the
Yes.
internet. And it happens on all the social media platforms. It's not just
Yes.
Facebook, but Facebook happens to be the largest platform, and that's why it's so prolific on Facebook. So if you're active on the internet, you need to understand that you need to be extremely careful with the information that you put out there. A lot of people literally pour their hearts out and pour their lives out on Facebook, but you need to know that this is a playing field for scammers. You need to be careful with what you put out there, because if you have been caught by them, they've got all the information on you that they possibly could want.
And firstly, not to accept requests for friendship from unknown people. I did that because I saw, a handsome man living in America, and he started to put like just under separate pictures, my professional pictures from visit of the U.S. ambassador in Bulgaria in some crisis children for victims. I decided maybe he's a friend of some people from the US embassy, and that's why I confirmed. And after that, you know what's happened. And you said something very important, that the women and the men can know that is absolutely needed to share what's happened with them, with the family, with children, with sons, with daughters, with relatives, not to be shame too shameful, because the close people, the close surrounding can help. For example, I share everything with my son, and he was the first who told me, "Oh, Lydia, this is not potential husband. You know, this is fake profile. Just immediately check everything." And since that moment till now, I share everything, all stories with my son without shame. And I'm very happy because I saw that the others authors of books, and also the other women, your guests, they also shared with their sons or daughters this bad story. And this is very important, not to be in
Yes,
isolation and to stay in shame around you. It's awful.
do not isolate yourself, and do not allow yourself to become isolated by
Yeah.
an online relationship. That is a red flag. If the person's trying to, because the modus operandi seems to be that they will start the relationship on a social platform,
Yes.
and they will try and get you off that social platform very quickly, and they'll use the hook line. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
so much easier, it's more personal on WhatsApp, it's more personal
Yeah.
via SMS messaging. So they will try and take you off social media as
Yes.
quickly as possible, and they basically will love bomb you. You know, you'll be they will send you all kinds of sweet nothings via SMS,
Yeah.
via WhatsApp, and it'll be a continuous messaging of that kind of nature. And then, as I mentioned earlier, they will quickly start referring to you as the husband or wife, and
Yes.
that is a red flag. And so, if you're watching this right now and you think that you may be in a relationship that is an online scam, there's two things you can start off with. The first thing is take the person's picture and go and do a reverse image search on Google. Go
Yes.
and see whether that person exists and who that person is. And then once you've identified that, understand that that persona that you thought you were in love with doesn't exist, and that the person that whose picture has been stolen, who's a victim of identity theft, is also a victim.
Yes.
So you have no relationship with a person whose picture it belongs to. That doesn't exist either. And understand that that person is a victim in the same manner that you are a victim. So go and do a reverse image search and find out if this person really exists. And then
Yes.
share it with people you know. Share it with your family, share it with your friends. Show your correspondence to someone. Ask them to have a look at it, because it's a new set of eyes that is not emotionally involved in the same way that you are. And very quickly, because for a person that's not involved in an online scam, it's very easy to pick up these, the fact that it's a scam. Very, very easy.
Yes, yes, and that's why when I started to do some TV presentations, also the journalists in the studio, they were amazed how you can become a lover with some picture in internet. It was strange for them, but you know that most of the contacts with scammers go just with chatting. And one of the red flag is if you ask for video connection. In all cases, the scammer will refuse, because they share excuses that in the UN base is not allowed to use camera or something like that. And when they send me a picture, because I asked, send me a picture, current picture from yesterday, from today. And the scammers sent me two different pictures. On one picture, the doctor was with a very small bear. On the other picture, with big beard. And the scammer said, you see, I just came out from operation. And then I asked, and why the bears are so different? So if you are careful and observe all details, you can see a lot of mistakes, and they will raise the red flag. And you see how many details exist. But I think that it's very useful if somebody has some suspicious, just to click in Google and to write romance scams, romance scammers, love frauds in internet, and they will find a lot of specialized organizations and websites. That's why I'm very thankful that I identified your platform. Before that, I identified Advocate Against Scammers, Kathy and Brian. And also I identified civil society against romance scams based in Miami. These are excellent pages when you can see stories, you can read about the psychology of romance scam, more about the reintegration of the victims, some red flags, some excuses. Also in YouTube, there are thousands video spots, how to recognize scammers, how to deal if you're a victim. Also, they published stories of real victims. If the women and the men are aware of these sources of information, I'm sure that they will be available to manage their destinies. Because,
Oh,
yes, just the last sentence, the asking for money, the money fraud is not in the beginning. Firstly, this is love involvement, emotional love manipulation. So it's very important, man or woman, to know how to behave, the own personal actions, how to be more self-analytical, and to observe everything before to do something wrong.
absolutely. It's simply a lack of awareness. So as you said,
Yeah.
there's so many YouTube videos out there. Go
Yes.
and watch the videos, because if you watch the videos, you will be able to identify very, very quickly whether or not you are in a
Yes.
relationship that isn't real, that you are actually being scammed. So I did previously on another episode have Kathy Waters and Brian Denny. So
Mm-hmm.
Brian is was in the military in the US, and he is a victim of identity theft,
Yes.
because that's one of the famous things that they do. They steal pictures of military men. Um, and so Brian Denny and Kathy Waters have teamed up, and they formed an initiative called Advocating for You. Um, Go and have a look at that website, Advocating for You. It's about love scams and romance scams and identity theft. They're doing great work in terms of creating awareness globally. They're also making huge strides in speaking to the authorities within the US, the CIA, the FBI, and they've also been working with Facebook. They haven't had
Yes.
much success yet with Facebook. I know that they had a call with them earlier today. They also submitted a memorandum with some signatures, I think
Mm-hmm.
10,000 signatures that they got of support, wanting, we basically want Facebook, which is the largest platform out there. We want them to shut the door on scamming because, you can send endless amounts of requests for friendships, and scammers know
Yes.
that. They thrive on that. So the door is wide open for scammers on that platform in particular, and we can literally stop scamming in its tracks if we can get Facebook to literally just enforce their own terms of service. Just enforce your own terms of service and we can stop scamming. And the thing that makes me that concerns me, above and beyond the fact that scammers are so prolific on Facebook, um, blockchain is another method that the scammers are employing to siphon out funds from their victims and to transfer funds globally. And of course, because they've already got free reign on the Facebook platform, Facebook's going to be launching Libra, its own blockchain. So to me, that is another concern because
Mm-hmm.
it means that the scammers that are already having a wild time on Facebook is going to jump onto Libra and use that as well. We've got to get the door shut, really. And the best thing we can do is to create awareness. Kathy's just posted
Yes.
a message to say that the meeting that they were supposed to have has been postponed until the 9th of October. So we're going to hold thumbs that meeting happens on the 9th of October, and we look forward to hearing back about that. We've also got another comment here from Ghost Blue, who says, my ex-girlfriend almost fell victim to a scammer in Wales, UK, until I showed her the show called Catfish. Luckily, it made her stop sending money. Again, that absolutely speaks volumes for education. If we can just get people to go and watch these videos to educate themselves about online scamming, romance scamming, they will be able to identify the red flags. Pietro also says, also check advocates against scammers.
Yes. Yes. I also strongly recommend and also to sign the petition organized by Kathy and Brian. And I told Kathy that I wrote a book, and she said, "Oh, we wait for your book. It's very nice also that you go to your show because she will put the interview maybe on their page." And I think that in that way, the persons, especially the women who are most sensitive, they can educate themselves, even to educate their emotional world, and to be more self-estimated. Because if you see a person, because some of the scammers, they use and video chat. And if you know that this person is 20 or 30 years younger than you, you can start to think, am I the right woman? Look at the mirror and try to think if this is a real relationship, if this is a real love, because sometimes the love is blind, but it's absolutely forbidden to be blind here when we are already victim of love scam. And that's why I don't know for the which time I repeat that I took the challenge to write the book based on my own experience, because I want to show the real speech, the real colorful speech, the real love words, and everything what happened with me. It happened the same with the other women. And after that, to give some advices, to make some conclusions. and to share a lot of personal experience, because I think that the people will believe a lot if a person who survived such scamming speak about that, because
Yes,
we are real,
absolutely.
we are sincere.
We need to share the stories of people that got scammed so that you can recognize the signs.
Yes,
That is key to getting out of a scam, is being able to identify and recognize the scams and take action. And I think another big thing for me is also, if you are in a relationship where there's real love is self-sacrificing. If you
yes,
really love someone, you will make sacrifices for that person. You're not going to take advantage of the person, because that is what they're really doing. They're taking advantage, and they, by draining you of every cent that you have. How is that possibly love? It cannot possibly be love if they're taking away from you instead of giving to you. So that's, it's a red flag if somebody's constantly asking you for things instead of giving you things. And another thing I want to mention that you mentioned earlier about the videos is
yes,
that, they will come up, and these are people that hide behind a profile where they pretend to be a doctor, they pretend to be an engineer, they pretend to be a lawyer, they pretend to be somebody high up in the military. So
yes,
think about that for a moment. If that is really that person, are they likely to give you an excuse that their phone camera is not working, or their phone is broken for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, months on
yes,
end, that they keep coming up with this excuse why they cannot video call you? It's a red flag. It's a red flag. Nobody will go for weeks and months without a phone where the camera
of
isn't
course.
working. It just does not happen. It's a red flag.
The other red flag is the accent. If you recognize some African English, it's a big red flag, because usually these men declare that they live in New York, on other parts in USA, or in European countries, but it's not possible if you live there and you are native English speaking person to have this accent. And that's why all the time I ask, why you speak like African man or Indian man? Because my childhood was somewhere in other countries. That's why. If you follow the speech, if you follow the grammar, if you follow the different sentences, very easy you can understand that the person is okay, well trained, but not maybe so intelligent, and it's not possible to be a doctor or some famous person. Red of red
with
flags.
such bad English.
Yes,
So,
yes,
and another thing I think that I would like people to know is that scammers, it's a whole network. You're not being scammed by one person, you're being scammed by a network of people. And they've
yes,
got access to software that will alter
yes.
their voices. So they can sound like a child, they can sound like a man, they
Mm,
can sound like a
mm,
woman, they can sound like anything that they absolutely wish under the sun.
yes,
But the one dead giveaway is the bad English. The bad English in the messaging between you is a dead giveaway. It's a red flag, because no professional person is going to use the level of English that the scammers use. You want to be aware of that. And again, if you suspect that you are possibly being scammed, go and do a reverse image search on Google. Go and look on YouTube for romance scams. Watch the videos.
yes,
Take your messaging, your correspondence with the person, show it to a family member, show it to a friend, ask them to evaluate whether they think, because any sane person, the minute you look at it, because you're outside of that emotional sphere that you've got with your scammer, you'll be able to pick up the signs very, very, very quickly. Another comment here is saying what most girls seem to misunderstand is that men are 1,000% more excited when it comes to dating. If a guy likes you, he will do everything he can to call you more. Not calling for weeks equal not dating material. Some good advice there. So, so yes, there are a set number of red flags. If you're unable to identify the red flags yourself, ask a friend. Do not keep quiet. So one more question I want to ask you, Lydia. A lot of people get to the point where they have this gut feeling that they are being scammed, that they are involved in a scam, but they are overcome by the emotion of shame. What is your
Mhm.
advice to them?
Not to be shameful, not to be shameful. I think that the world doesn't stop if we become victim of scamming, even if we fall very deeply in love. We are women anyway. We are emotional human beings, and that's why the shame is not a good advisor. Uh, I asked my friend from Dominican Republic because they also have many cases. Why it's happened? And he told me very simple, because everybody needs love, but some people take advantage of that. And if you need love, okay, go to dating site, go to search in internet, but be very, very, very careful. And after that, when you are a victim, when you lost everything, I give all my respect to those women who lost their money, but they can continue. They can try to search professional help or some therapeutical group to share their opinion, their troubles, their moods. And recovering of the victim is something very, 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 very difficult, because it's interesting. When I spoke with the women who are work with, they say, when I stopped contacted with the scammers, I felt myself if I was something very, very, very valuable, something very warm, like cat or some parent, because it's became a habit. Every
Mm.
morning, every night to hear, "Good morning, baby. Good night, my beautiful queen." To be together with this man, to feel that you will be together, to be loved, to give love. And that's why the heart is broken in the end. But anyway, we must be strong, we must survive, and we must find friends, family, psychotherapists to recover ourselves without shame. It's not shameful.
And
It's
the
not
other
shame to be a
thing,
human being. Yes?
absolutely, absolutely. I think what I would like to close off with is that another thing people need to be aware of, everyone wants to use names that of endearment, words of endearment. But
Yes.
another identifying mark of scammers is that they use an inordinate amount of endearment terms.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, it is so excessive to the point where it messes with your head. Because in a normal relationship, people don't use terms of endearment to that
Yes.
extent.
Yes.
It's an unusual amount of terms of endearment in the daily conversation. So
Yes.
when somebody starts using too many terms of endearment
Yes.
and you start feeling that, wow, I am really a queen or a king, it's
Yes.
a red flag. It's a red flag. Do not get taken in by those terms of endearment. It's an absolute trap.
Yes.
Be very, very careful.
And never try to find such man or such love life in the reality. It doesn't exist, unfortunately. And I made very, very sad conclusions. What the scammers do with us, we must do in our real life. We must support our husband or boyfriend or girlfriend and to express our love in that way. But unfortunately, in the real life, we don't do that. And that's why the scammers use these gaps, emotional gaps, and they fill these gaps with music, with love poems, with feelings, words. As psychologist, I'm amazed about the power of the voice, about the power of the chat, how strong these things can influence the emotional internal world of the women just by the voice, by the sentences. It's amazing.
It absolutely is. Lydia, how can people connect with you, and where can they find your books?
The book is not still issued. I
Is it
mean,
not? It's not ready yet. It's still coming.
no. I'm still in process of working, and I'm in stress. I want to put so many things inside because so interesting things happened around me. It was really one of the unbelievable and not ordinary situation in my professional and personal life. But I hope that somewhere, maybe after half year, it will come firstly in Bulgarian, after that in English, and then I will search you and other people to help me for dissemination. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe on my, uh, I can share my professional website to touch me there, or I have intention maybe to establish, I don't know, some group in Facebook, or maybe, I don't know, some small platform where I can share my knowledge and to receive some calls or to exchange some opinions, because in the group which I established, we feel very comfortable ourselves. Even I, that I'm so open, mildly open, and as a psychologist, sometimes I cannot share all these things happened with me with other people because they will blame me. But with these women who were victims of scanning, we can share everything between us with a lot of humor. I advise, please put a lot of humor, use a lot of humor, even humor about you, because this is a nice treatment of the bad
Absolutely.
things which happened.
Yeah.
And we feel comfortable in this closed society, the power of the closed therapeutical group.
So I think we want to close off by letting people know that you've got to be very, very careful. Um, be aware that you can get scammed. Don't feel that you are exempt or that it can't possibly happen to you. It can happen to anyone, no matter who you are or what you do.
Mm.
Lydia, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone
Thank
who
you.
has joined us live. Thank you if you've watched us on the replay. If you watched live, type live in the comments. If you watched on the replay, type replay in the comments so that we know. Lydia, you will go back to the chat. So if you've got any questions, please leave them in the chat, and Lydia will see those in the chat. And so I want to end off by saying thank you to everyone for watching. Remember to do good stuff. Let's inspire, let's inform, and let's have these conversations one at a time to create awareness. If you would like to share your story or be a guest on the show, then connect with us on the page www.facebook.com/online safety.live. So it's facebook.com/online safety.live. Or if you want us to get in touch with you, leave us a comment or send us an inbox message. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Be safe out there. And until next time, it's goodbye for now.
person, the elderly person,